Hello, welcome to this video discussing the subject of Blue Open Studio communicating to the Rockwell Logix series of PLCs. This is an extension of a previous video around this same subject, and I will leave a link to that video in the video details here. In the previous video, I had touched on using the watch and output windows in Blue Open Studio. And here we will dig a little deeper into this video, showing a little bit deeper dive into how the driver is working, specifically when using tag integration in this case. Okay, so just a real quick agenda. We are gonna just to illustrate some points. We're going to create a new project, and we're going to be using tag integration today. And then we're going to show how the tags are actually working and how we use them in the Blue Open Studio environment. And then again, like I said, we're going to talk about the output window. Okay, so again, back to it, a little bit of an introduction and some basics. You could see from part number one, that was kind of a little bit more basic. And like I said, we're going to take a little bit deeper dive this time. Like I said, we're going to do a basic project, talk about how tag integration is functioning, and then we're going to be using the output window, and then discuss a little bit about the use cases between, say, tag integration and driver sheets. Okay, first thing is we're going to go into Blue Open Studio and create a new project. We'll call this BOS2 Logix Video. Let's pick a license level. Do all this default, clear out the security. Okay, so now that we've created a project, what I want to illustrate here is I'm going to do nothing in this project other than go ahead and just do the tag integration piece. So I'm going to go to the project tab, do the communication. Okay, so here I am in the tag integration. I'm going to add a tag integration source. I pick the RS Logix 5000. I'll leave the name the same. I'm going to say add. I'm going to put in the IP address, the PLC we're connecting to, and then I'm going to pick, this is the latest L5K file, should be in, it is in sync with what's running in the PLC. Okay. Okay, so we're going to import that, and now we've basically imported that, and we've, in a way, what you're doing here is you're establishing that that is the file that you're using for tag integration. Click OK. Click OK. Okay, so now that we've established that file has our tag integration file, one thing that I'm going to point out right up at the front here is what you'll notice is if you go to the Communications tab in the Project Explorer, you'll notice at this point, if you look at the drivers folder, you'll see that there is no driver actually created, even though at this point the driver is ready to run. So let's take a look at that, and then like we talked about, let's take a look at what we can do with this output window. So to control what you do in the output window, basically we right click here and we say settings, and you'll see you've got different commands that you can do. What we're going to do, what I'm going to start with is I'm going to start with the field read, the field read and the field write. And what that's going to do is that's going to show you effectively what the driver is doing at a kind of an overview level from when it's reading and when it's writing. And then we're going to insert date and time, and we'll log that to a file. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So now what I'm going to do is let me just go to the viewer, and let's just turn this off so we don't get a big blank viewer screen. And then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to run the project. Okay, and what you'll see here in the output window is you'll see that the driver is initialized, but you can see it's actually not doing anything. And the reason it's not doing anything is because we really haven't given it anything. We haven't given it anything really to do. It will not just go ahead and pull for that entire tag list because there's really nothing driving it to do that. So let's see if we can make it work. So let's just go here in the watch window and let's browse for some tags. And what you'll notice, first thing to notice is is that when you look at the tag integration piece in the object finder, here's our devices, here's our device, and we click, and you'll notice we basically have a case where all these appear grayed out, okay? Which means they have not been imported into the project. Okay, so what you can actually do in this case is you can select an item, click OK, and it will be added to the watch window. Okay, I can go in here again, and I can add another item to the watch window. Okay, and now you could see adding that second item kick the driver into gear, and now you could see what the driver is actually doing. So it's actually reading for these two bowling alarms. Okay, so the other thing to take note of is, and let me go browse the object finder again. You'll also notice that you have the ability to import multiple devices. So I can actually come in here and select multiple devices. And let me pick a completely different type. Let me scroll way down here. Let me take some of these integer values. Okay, and I'm going to import these selected tags. And then it's going to basically tell you that it's going to import these tags to the project. We're going to add them to the project. Okay, and now you can see that they've turned black. Then what we can actually do is we can cancel this. Okay, but you'll see, even though we've added those to the project, they're not being pulled for because they're not effectively in the object finder. Even though you've imported them, they don't actually get pulled for until you use them in a function. So for example, if I added one of these to the watch window, it's already imported, so I just click OK, and then you should see it. Yeah, and then you could see it here. It's being asked for in the watch window. The other thing to take note of is if you go to the Global tab now in the project, under the Shared Database, you'll actually see all these tags that you've added. And you could actually see that those imported tags did get added here to the Shared Tags database, in addition to these first two that I added just in the watch window. Okay, so now let's change the content of the output window a little bit. So I'm just gonna go into settings. You can see it's just everything is just cycling by. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna right click in here and I'm gonna say settings. You can see you can pause, etc. Okay, so I'm just gonna I paused it. We go to settings and I'm going to change it to field read and write to just protocol analyzer. And let's take a look at what that looks like. I'm going to go ahead and unpause it. Actually, let me just delete all this out. Unpause it. Okay. And now you can see the protocol analyzer running by. And you can see what's happening in the protocol analyzer is it's giving you a little bit more detailed information about what's actually inside all those read and write commands. A little bit more granular, right? You can see the hex codes flying by. And you can actually run both field read, field write in the protocol analyzer at the same time. Okay, go ahead and stop the project. Okay, so now switching gears, we are in the Logix Designer software for our Control Logix PLC. And what I want to point out here is that the program that we're looking at here is actually not deployed in the PLC right now. The program that's deployed in the PLC is the program that Blue Open Studio was talking to with our little test project, and then I actually have another performance test project that I'm using that I was also using to talk to that same PLC project. So what I want to do here now is within this not yet deployed PLC program, I'm going to make some changes. So I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to take away a few Boolean alarms, say from the end here. I'm going to take these 3. Okay, so I'm going to delete those. And then the other thing that I've done is I have added loggings here. Okay, I have added these variables here, these logging variables, logging integers and logging bools, so we can set up a new data logger in our performance test project. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to deploy this to the PLC. I'm just going to do a save as because I want to get the L5K file. Okay. And let me just sort like this. And I'm just going to call this alarm is added 4. Save. Okay. So now I've basically saved my L5K, which is what I'm going to import into Blue Open Studio. Okay, so now switching back to Blue Open Studio, one thing that I'll point out is since I've had this project closed and reopened since last cut on this video, what you notice in the communication tab now is if you go into the drivers, you'll see you can expand the drivers, and you can see now you have the Allen Bradley CIP driver here, and you can expand it. You can actually see there is a driver sheet here, but you can see the driver sheet is not populated. It's just basically this is kind of just created by the system. There's driver sheets that are behaving in the background, basically derived off of what's in this shared database and whatever objects, etc., that you've used. Okay, so now let me go and open our performance test project. Can you take a look at what that looks like in the watch window? So first what we're going to do is I'm going to go into settings and I'm going to just switch it to field read and field write, and I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And then the condition that I have in this particular project is I actually have this project is out of sync with the project that is running in the PLC. There's some tags that exist in this project that don't exist in the PLC anymore, and I kind of wanted to show you what that looks like. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and run the project. And you can see in this case I've actually got some screens developed. You can see here's my alarm. I just have an alarm window because remember I have a lot of alarms. And then here's another screen, and you can see I have some, for example, I have a 1 millisecond timer running in this data display, and then I just have some push buttons that are activating some logic in the PLC. Okay, so now if we go ahead and, like I said, if we go ahead and look at our watch window now, like I said, all we've got is the field read and write. Let's unpause it and let it run for a little bit here. Okay, let's go ahead and pause it. And then let's find our errors. Okay, so you can kind of see we're okay. Okay, so now you can see we can get it's right here, main program. It's basically saying one of the more addresses in the group are invalid. So in the field and read and write commands, you're kind of knowing that within this block there are some addresses that are invalid. Okay, but if we drill down deeper with the protocol analyzer, so I'm going to go ahead and delete everything. I'm going to go to settings. I'm going to check protocol analyzer, and then I'm going to uncheck the field read and write. Say OK, unpause. Okay, and then now we're getting the protocol analyzer. Remember, we're getting a lot more granular data. You can see all the stuff flying by. I'm going to go ahead and pause it again. Okay. Everything's okay. You can see what it's doing. It's looking for all the alarms. Here's the data exchanging to look for the alarms, etc. Okay. Here's these lamps. Okay. So now there's going to be problems because these are I think those are the good ones. Let's see. Oh, here we go. PLC tag name program, main program, lamp 1 not found. So you know exactly that lamp 1 is not found here in this protocol analyzer. Let me find some others. Here we go. Program, main program, lamp 2 not found, push button 1 not found, etc. So you can see using the protocol analyzer, you can actually drill down and know exactly which tags are not being found, not just the entire group. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and actually stop the project here. Exit the application. Okay. So now within our Blue Open Studio, now let's go in and let's update our L5K file. So I'm going to go back to project, communication. Going to go to configure. Going to go to browse. I'm going to go to our latest L5K file. Say OK. Okay, telling me that I have changes to the database. Click OK. Click OK. Okay. So now what you notice is if I actually go and try to browse to the tag database. So if I did this either through a watch window where I'm going to add a tag, or for example, okay, you'll see it brought up the object finder. Okay. But for example, if I went to say a screen object and I wanted to change something, and if I say refresh devices in the object finder, now it's going to try to sync up the database, right? So it's basically saying these tags are no longer in that L5K file. What do you want to replace them with? And then you can browse to what's in there with the latest. I'm just going to leave it alone for now, just so we could generate some errors and show that what actually happens is even though you've got stuff that's out of sync, the stuff that's still in sync will still function. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. Sure, why not? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and run. Okay. Oops. My window. Okay. And you notice the timer, nothing changed with the timer, so the timer is still running. Nothing changed with these, so they're still running. Okay, basically I just made some changes. If there was stuff that was not working, you would get question marks here. We should have errors in the watch list, so I'm going to go ahead and unpause that. I would go back to, let me pause it. Let me just go back to field read and field write, make it a little simpler. Unpause. Okay, pause it. Right, you can see here right away, here's main program. So these are those lamps that are no longer invalid in the groups. Okay, but all the stuff, like I said, all the stuff that's in sync. So even though we have errors, everything in the project continues to work. So about this subject regarding what is the best way to use this Rockwell CIP driver when we're talking to one of these Logix platforms, and I'm actually going to reserve judgment on that. You will notice that I am in the midst of creating a performance testing application, so I'm going to continue to add tags to this tag integration, and then just in the end see how this is actually performing. One of the things you can look at here is you can kind of see, I've got this 1 millisecond timer running. I'm getting 1 to 2 second updates just in that. So like I said, we're going to let me, like I said, I have a whole bunch of alarms, etc., etc., etc. You really don't, the thing that you really have when you do tag integration is you are at the, say, the will of this, basically this hidden driver sheet. Okay. You can actually add stuff manually to this driver sheet and it will just function. And then of course, once you've done this, you can, of course, like we talked about in the previous video, you can now add individual driver sheets where, as we know, if you know Blue Open Studio, you know that gives you a lot more fine control over how you are managing your driver. So like I said, I'm going to reserve judgment. I'm going to do some more studying and performance testing and look for future videos discussing that. So thanks for watching this one though. Thanks.